AITA for telling my neighbor that I was filing a harassment complaint against them. My husband and I moved into our home in May. We have nice neighbors except for the elderly couple who live next door, aka our neighbors from hell. We tried introducing ourselves to them and they ignored us. Wouldn't even say hello or acknowledge us. It's fine if you are reserved. What's not fine is what started happening shortly after we had moved in. They began calling the cops on us and would make snide remarks to me or my husband from time to time when we were outside. The first time they called was because they suspected that my husband is a terrorist. My husband is of Middle Eastern descent and I'm white. That one was particularly upsetting. My husband was told to go back to where he came from by the wife, and that we don't praise Allah here. My husband isn't even Muslim. Then they accused us of dealing drugs because we were working from home all the time. On the times that I've had to go to the office to drop off paperwork, I had to take a lockbox with my client's paperwork, and that's probably why they got suspicious. Around this time also, the husband was in his front yard when I came home one day and said, "What do you need that SUV for? You don't have kids. You're trying to hide something." I ignored him. The third time they called was for the same thing, accusing us of drug dealing. My coworker came by because she needed training on how to use a new software. She is African American and she wears her hair in dreadlocks. This also happened around the same time as the George F. murder and protests. Our neighbors told the cops there was a drug deal going on at our house. My poor coworker was terrified when she saw the cops pull up. The fourth time they called was for a noise complaint because my husband and I got food delivered to our house 3 times in one day. Which sounds bad, but we only did it once during quarantine. A month ago, they called twice. Once for my husband's car, that it needs to be towed because it doesn't have a license plate for the state we live in. His license plate is from Ontario. He moved to the US last year. They called again before my birthday because the tags on my license plate were supposedly expired. My B-day is in late September. They weren't expired, and I got them on time right before my birthday. The final straw was yesterday when I came home from work. The husband was raking leaves in his front yard and goes back from another drug run. I turned around and went, "No. Just going to file a harassment complaint against you since you won't leave us the hell alone." Cue surprised Pikachu face from the neighbor. After telling my husband, he's pissed that I basically talked back to the neighbor because he's elderly, and that filing a harassment complaint will make things worse. I don't know what to do. AITA. NTA. You and he have been deliberately targeted by bigots in an ongoing campaign of harassment. You did exactly the right thing. Now maybe they will stop. Your husband needs to realize that you both have the right to not be harassed by asshole neighbors. NTA, you need to document it with extreme detail. Get case numbers from every police call. If the police are not, well, leave. It's not a real problem. Say, "No, I want this documented." Restraining order next. Do you have an WA? Report it as well. Be able to have exact details in case it get worse. You'll also need specific reasons for restraining order if it comes to that. Old people can be just as nuts as everyone else. Once or twice I can see the police not doing anything. After the third call, the police should have realized these people are nuts. If they call the cops again, explain to the police that it's the 7/8 time they've been called out for nothing and you'd like to report them for harassment. NTA. It might be too late for this comment to get traction, but I'm telling you from experience to start documenting everything with the police right now. I also had nightmare neighbors, very similar to the ones you are describing. They would incessantly call the cops on us and file police reports. My family and I were being harassed by them on a semi-regular basis. When we finally had enough and decided to file a harassment claim, we were able to see all the times the cops were dispatched to our home. They were even calling and making complaints on our house. Mainly noise complaints. On days when we were not even home. One complaint specifically was for a day we were out of the country. The cops had dozens of complaints against us, but none from our side. They cannot build a case unless you also play the game and make harassment claims each time. It also helps to have the officers that are dispatched to your home write a report, and you can ask for a copy for your records. Start compiling everything and be ready to take it to court if it persists. Don't wait until it's too late. Start filing complaints and saving everything now. Our neighbors thankfully decided to sell their house, but I doubt this old couple will. Your husband is pissed? TF. File a harassment claim. Right now is not the time to be wrongly accused, especially when police are involved. File a harassment claim. File for a restraining order. Do whatever you can to get them as far away from you as possible. Being elderly doesn't excuse asshole behavior, and it definitely doesn't excuse dangerous behavior. Edit. NTA. You should absolutely file a complaint. They're harassing you and they shouldn't be allowed to get away with it no matter how old they are. NTA. NTA. Wow, where do we even begin? Your neighbors are making racist remarks, profiling, and constantly accusing you of dealing drugs. On top of that, it seems like they constantly harass you both every time you step outside of your house. You are fully justified with filing the complaint and telling them. I personally wouldn't have ate anything, but it seems you are better at confrontation than I am. Good luck with this op. NTA. Those two racist lunatics need to understand the only ones committing any crimes hear them. If you start filing charges and talk to the police about what is a reportable offense and what is not, at least there will be paper trail. Their harassment is not going to stop. I'm sure the police are tired of your neighbors' constant complaints as well. Call the community liaison officer at your police department. Bring documentation with you and review everything with them. NTA. NTA. Being old doesn't give you an excuse to be an ass. File it. For real. People are crazier than you think sometimes, and having stuff like this documented is important if things go wrong. If bodily or property damage ever happens at their hands, this will only help your case. NTA. But it's a dumb move if you aren't ready to actually follow through. You need to actually put that shit out there now. If you don't, things can get way worse. It's extremely easy to take. They threatened to call the cops on me and have that go down the telephone game as they threatened me. Get your shit in line now, because you're actually already in the middle of a legal issue and don't know it yet. Protect yourself. Edit. Oh, and also start filming everything. If they harass you, you have a right to prove it. Build a strong case and use all of it as one big punch, which involves multiple charges so the perpetrator can't slip out. Talk to a lawyer if you can. They love cases like this if you find the right one. NTA. Just karma. Fucking racist comments from racist people. NTA. Ideally, you should have filled it without telling the racist neighbor, but in that situation I don't blame you at all. NTA. Honey, no. Your husband is very wrong. Think, if there is some kind of incident later on and it's your word against theirs, and you say, they've harassed us all these times, they did this and this and this, the first question you will get is, if they harassed you so much, why didn't you ever report it? When dealing with hostile or unstable accusatory people, always create and keep a paper trail. NTA. If they want to call the cops needlessly and be blatantly racist, honey, you get that harassment complaint filed ASAP. You should try and go for a stalking charge as well, because they are obviously watching you guys. constantly to know who's in your house, when you leave, and the things you're carrying in and out of your home. NTA. But you need to actually follow through with your threat. These people are awful and you shouldn't have to live like this. Was Breonna Taylor dealing drugs? No, she was not. Was she murdered in her own home because of a false accusation, information? Yes, she was. Don't wait. This man could get you killed. And wasting police time is not a good thing either. NTA. NTA. They are straight up harassing you. NTA. They are officially harassing you. Filing a claim won't make it worse, it will make it stop. NTA. What a nightmare. Sorry you have to deal with them. What have the police said about the calls and accusations? Now that you've told them, I wonder if they'll try to one-up you by doing something else. Like more accusations or restraining order. Awful people.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.